So let me kick it off here, by the way. So I'm RC, and I run our webinar and content programming here at BuildOps, and we're going to be talking about being data center ready. For folks who are unfamiliar with BuildOps specifically, we are the system of action for commercial contractors. So we're purpose built for the unique needs of commercial contractors. Powered AI powered platform. We replace manual workflows with one unified platform that's purpose built for the complexities of the work that you guys do. Was shaped by real field experience, as you can note by some of the folks who are on the panel today who know what they're talking about and just don't theorize it. And our platform is really engineered to help contractors move work forward. And you're going to get to see some of that in action today, which is why I think you all are here. So before we do that, though, and I promise you we're going to jump into the platform pretty quick, I did want to level set on why we're having this conversation to begin with. And so, first of all, data centers is extremely fast growing property type. AI, cloud expansion. I mean, you all know it's popping up all over the place, and it's not necessarily even specifically regionally specific. We've kind of done some research on that. It really is like one of the most fastest property types across the entire country. And actually, we had a chat. I'm going to throw this into the chat, this link as well. We had a chat with Matt Koenig over at Haynes a couple of months ago. I think it was like May or so. Here, let me I'm going to shoot this over to the hopefully everyone here can get this. This is a link to the recap of that old webinar that we did in May with Matt. And there's a couple of notes that I want to lead this conversation with for that. Is that number one, first of all, that was the most popular webinar we've ever had to date by far. Like a lot of people were interested in that topic specifically. The other thing is that Matt came away with a couple of interesting takeaways that really fueled our decision to do this webinar right here. Number one was that he was talking about this is, I'm going to do his direct quote here. The amount of money being poured into data centers right now is unlike anything we've seen, even bigger than the dot-com boom in the early 2000s. So that's big deal. But number two, to kind of like put into context, so it's a different animal. So response times are tighter, expectations are higher, but that's also why they're willing to pay more. So that's what we're talking about today. We're diving into that today with this wonderful panel of experts and beautiful, handsome people and people who love sun, love rain, and love sitting in thunder. Good for you, John. We're going to talk about three specific things built around what our platform can do. Number one is providing field readiness. Number two is standardizing quality. And number three is capturing photo proof. And this all ladders back into kind of what Matt was talking about earlier about what it takes to stand out and land these jobs and then maintain these jobs as well. Okay. So we're going to dive into some quick intros to introduce the panel. But as we do that, you're going to see a poll question pop up. You'll actually see 3 different poll questions pop up throughout the entire webinar. My ask of you is to actually answer these poll questions because what it does is help us to kind of navigate specifically what we should be talking about. We will definitely play audibles and change the conversation a little bit based on your input. Hi, Megan. Megan's here as well to listen in. So I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to launch the poll question. Please answer that. I'm going to kick it off with Chapel. What you got? Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Chapel Brock. I'm a senior CSM on the enterprise team. I'm based out of our Raleigh office in North Carolina.
And Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica. Like RC said, I'm based in the Bay Area and I'm on the marketing team focused on product and customer.
Product specialist. Okay. Next, we're going to go with Santiago.
Hello, I am Santiago. I am in the LA office and I am part of the corporate success team here at BuildOps.
LA office, but likes rain. Okay. Okay. And John.
My name is John Shear. I'm an enterprise sales engineer with BuildOps. I'm based out of Northeast Indiana, sort of near Chicago.
Sort of near Chicago.
Sort of near Chicago, a couple hours away. But it's the city that people relate to. So
Understood. Understood. I'm looking at some poll responses. I just want to bring it up to here before we jump into the actual meat of this. And so I'm saying that the majority of people, so the question just to level set, are you actively doing data center work or exploring other new property types? And by large, the majority is certainly not yet, but we're exploring it. So this is exactly what this is for. You all are exploring this opportunity. You haven't really actually activated to it. There are a core few, 30% of you who actually are doing data center work. Fantastic. And what we would appreciate, honestly, is your boots on the ground kind of feedback and input a little bit. So definitely, again, as I hand this over to the rest of the panel, I just want to bring note to a Q&A icon. Hopefully somewhere in your world on a Zoom, you'll see for me, it's at the bottom. Any questions you have, any comments you have, whatever you want to do, hit that Q&A. I'll be in the back end monitoring that. There will be a dedicated Q&A section at the end of this conversation, but we'll also try to work in some of these questions as well. So the folks who are doing data center work also, give us some input. We love it. So with that, I think the conversation is going to go for a slower pace because I know I tend to talk fast. I'm going to hand it over to Erica first to jump into the first section, which is improving field readiness with skills and certification. Erica, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Darcy. Always fun to get a good handoff from you. You're such a great MC. Um, cool. So when we think about data centers, we all know, like RC perfectly teed up, it's a growing area of work, and it's definitely a very specific type of tenant improvement. So it's really important that you have your team ready, and you want to make sure your team is certified because your customers want that. You want to make sure that you're the obvious choice to send the right crew, make sure that you have everything documented, and get those site-specific certs. Chapel, I would love to kind of hear like your thoughts on like how people can show up right.
Yeah, so one of the key things about this is you're going to see in the platform is that you're able to mark all of your people at different skill levels and assign them different certifications in the system so that that's automatically tracked. And what that means is you don't have to have your entire team ready, on the first day. You can have specific sets of people who are ready to go, and ultimately, whether it's just a handful of technicians or whether it's, your entire team that's going to be working on working in these data centers, it's ultimately going to save your dispatcher and your service manager time because they're not having to filter through all your different techs, but just the one specific for this job. Ultimately, that's going to build towards, better first-time fix rates, and it's going to boost confidence for the crew as they continue to see success, being automatically assigned to jobs that they can do well the first time.
Yeah, I love that tip. I always get personally overwhelmed when I think about doing something brand new. So like really carving out just a portion of your overall team to dedicate, be those data center experts to like test it out and expand as your business in this space grows, I think is a great point. But you guys aren't here to listen to us yap. You guys want to see what the product looks like. So John, take us through so that we can take a look at the personnel side of things and then look at a little bit about dispatch.
Excellent. So I'm going to start off with a couple new setting screens that have been added to the platform relatively recently in order to handle the new skills and certification tracking. So underneath our personnel settings page, we now have these two tabs here, skill levels, which allow us to create and assign different skills to different levels, different technicians. And what's interesting about this is it's not a binary thing. It's not do they have this skill or not. They can set a degree of skill that the technician has. So if you have different ways of gauging that, maybe you have different training programs, now I have this skill at level 3, you can assign those based on the way that the organization wants to track those skills for those technicians. In the certification tab, we have the ability to also add certifications and add those to technicians so that you can use that as a part of your consideration when you're assigning technicians to jobs. So from here, I'm going to flip over to the dispatch board, and I've got this visit that I've scheduled out here for Ben. And underneath that visit, if I open up the visit here, you can see on the right-hand side the tray that kind of details all the different elements of that visit. One of the sections now allows us to look at the required skills and certifications for that visit or that job. And that can be a part of the consideration when you're choosing a technician to dispatch. And all of this plugs into a tool called Smart Dispatch. It uses AI. The AI will look at the way that you've scheduled your jobs, or maybe if you have unassigned jobs, it'll look at the skills and certifications of those jobs, along with things like proximity to technicians, and it'll make suggestions on how you should dispatch your technicians based on the tech skills and certifications and the required skills and certifications of those jobs, as well as proximity and workload and some other factors.
Cool. Thanks for walking through that. I think that's it's always helpful to know that if you've built the right crew, you can make sure you're sending the right person. And we know that there needs to be some level of consistency with data centers. You're going back, well, in general, everything, but especially with data centers, as you get like one shift to the next, from one market to another. You want to make sure you're carrying through those same SOPs and what you need to make sure that quality control stays consistent and you're delivering that for your customers as you need to. Santiago, would love to hear kind of your thoughts on what that looks like for your customers.
Yeah, so like for our customers, just like you said, like having those SOPs, leveraging our mobile forms, making sure that install hits the mark across shifts, offices, and markets. A great tool to use would be our forms, and then bringing a level of professionalism to the data centers that our clients expect. This is a good area where we can leverage some of our AI tools. That AI summary becomes something that we can leverage. Invoice and records can reflect that consistency too, because the customer proof and the work of the followed specifications that we need to do for some of these data centers. And then if you're in the fire and life safety, you'll like this. We integrate with Inspect Point. So you can run your FLS workflows, checklists, inspections, compliance steps directly in BuildOps. It's an add-on benefit for those already in that space, but it shows the flexibility of what you can build.
Yeah, I love the inspect point call out. Like the ability for us to get those dynamic forms like really is up leveled what we can do from a compliance standpoint. John, I feel like I'm talking to Vanna White. Can you please walk us through the platform yet again?
All right. So I've got a work ticket here that allows us to take a look at a job that I've dispatched for my data center. And a couple of key call outs here. I want to call out the history of the data centers all stored in here. So you can come in and you can see past jobs and who was there and what they did. We actually have a new AI tool that'll read through that work history. So if this is the second or third or the 10th visit that this technician has gone out to this data center, the Smart Recap tool will actually read through the job history of that property, and it'll recap a, a a blurb back to the technician so that while they do have access to all the details of those jobs, it'll give them a brief breakdown of how the history is broken up for that property. And it's actually a chat bot, and they can come in here and they can ask it questions, and it'll answer from the history. Another call out here are the
Oh,
forms we
John, can
have.
I ask you a question about the smart
Yeah, of
recap real
course.
quick? Sorry, I don't mean to mess up your flow, but just to be clear, so like that, it's pulling from visit summaries from previous texts. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. So it looks at this is visit number 2. It went back to visit number 1. The AI read through the notes and it's providing a recap to me as the technician on visit number 2. So hopefully you're able to send the same technicians, but we know that things change and you're not always able to do that. And this gives the new technician or even the same technician kind of a breakdown, a summary of what happened last time. This is especially important if you have a larger ongoing job where you might have to go out 6 or 8 times because you're doing a big retrofit. Where the technicians need to go see who was here 3 weeks ago and what they did. They have all the detail where they could go and look at pictures and videos and all the things that were uploaded, but this gives them a very quick breakdown of what happened on those previous jobs.
Very cool. Also, like a helpful note is like Chapel said, if you're starting small with a subgroup to like be your subject matter experts as you expand the team, this is a great way for them to get like that continual thread.
Very good. Next up, I have forms. I have an AES fire sprinkler inspection form as an example. We have custom forms built within the platform. We can build these from scratch. We can also import these, and these can be really useful not just for compliance, like with NFPA or AES forms, but also with safety or customer-specific forms, especially in data centers. We see they have very specific requirements around security and safety. And so we can create those forms that these customers may have in BuildOps, and you're able to complete those as a technician from the field while still providing a nice 8.5 by 11 PDF form that can be produced and sent to the customer as needed. You guys also mentioned the inspect point integration. I have an example of that as well. So I have this work ticket here that's for a fire inspection, and we leverage a technology called deep linking, which can take us over to inspect point and allow us to complete their NFPA compliant inspections. What the real value of this is the inspect point team has done a really great job plugging into the NFPA and other regulatory requirements around different municipalities all throughout the country. And so they're able to keep up on that and make sure that the reports that we're presenting to your technicians and to your customers are compliant with all those regulations. And they also plug into different fire safety compliance platforms like Compliance Engine. So as you flag deficiencies and you create quotes and you resolve those deficiencies, it's going to talk all the way through to the fire marshal through their different compliance tools. One last thing that I do want to talk about while we're here is our history. When you go into the history for this for these properties, it's not just the property history, but it's also at the asset level. So if I'm working on a specific piece of equipment, let's say a rooftop unit or something like that, you can see the exact history of that unit. And what we found is that in a lot of cases the problems that you see in a unit are often related. So if something goes bad and you fix that one problem, you may see tertiary issues pop up that were related to that initial issue. And what we're seeing is that diagnostic times can go way down for your technicians when they're able to see a complete history and understand what's been going on with that piece of equipment.
Very cool. Thanks for that walkthrough. Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about, or actually, if you can show us a little bit about how like technicians can go and capture photo proof out in the field, and then how that adds back to asset history.
Yeah, absolutely. So within the job, there's a couple of different levels that you can add pictures and attachments to. So for example, I can attach them to the property. I could have property attachments. These can be anything. When we talk about attachments or files or documents, they could be anything. They could be pictures, videos, PDFs, etc. And so if there was a picture that was relevant to that property, maybe the dock that they need to park near. They could take a picture of it and drop it on the property. That's an example. Another example is you might have pictures of the different units that you service. So I've got a list of all of my assets here, and I've got this crack unit that I have on the in the data center, and I can upload pictures that are specific to this piece of equipment. So I can show what it looks like and where it is and all this other stuff. And I'm doing that at the asset level. I can also do this at the job level. So if the pictures are specific to this job, what it is that I'm doing today as I'm working on this, I can come in here and I can snap a picture. It's very quick and easy. I am working from home. I do not have a crack unit in my office that I can upload, but you can come in here and you can snap a picture and you can upload that to the job. And that would basically document, you can show before and after photos to document what it looked like before and how it looks once it's completed. That way you can see, from the office, and you can present to the customer the improvements that have been made to that unit as a result of your work.
John, I like giggled when I saw your camera roll come up. Thanks for doing that.
Of course.
Like, what's he got in his camera roll? Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to jump in here and say is like I think what this really accentuates is that BuildOps makes documentation part of your process. Record keeping could be haphazard, not always, but it could be. This centralizes it and makes it much easier for the techs to do it on the ground in real time rather than after the fact.
Yeah, I think we even got like some gated workflow capabilities too. So if you want to really standardize, especially around like the rigidity required for data centers, it's a good way to ensure that happens. Great point, Chapel.
And I just realized that Erica was calling John Vanna White. And that just computed. So thank you, Vanna, very much for that. And folks, thank you very much for contributing to the polls as well. I got one more for you in a moment, but did want to just kind of bring it out. We've got a bunch of questions that are popping up. So I want to remind you, if you do want to ask a question, just pop it into the Q&A and we'll monitor that. If we can't get to your questions today, we will definitely follow up with you with a more customized response as well. So at this point, I do want to bring in some of the questions that we're surfacing right now, if that's okay with the rest of the panel. Is that cool with you all? You ready for that? All right. So question number one, do field techs get notified if they missed a required step in the install checklist? John?
So there's a visual feedback as they're looking through the checklist, the tasks of things that they're supposed to be doing. There's visual feedback. There's going to be a green checkbox next to the things that are completed. There will not obviously be a checkbox next to the things that are not. So they'll be able to visually see very quickly and easily a list of the things that must be done and what's been completed and what's not. There's also a feature called gated workflows. So, in the same vein, not specific to tasks, but more so to the overall work ticket and the kinds of documents that we want the technicians to fill out. There's this feature called gated workflows, which allows you as a company to decide what things the technicians need to complete before they can close out their work ticket. So, especially in data centers where they have different requirements around sanitization of the property and keeping things clear of debris and other things, they may need things like pictures. And so you could require the technicians to upload pictures to the job before they can close out, and the system won't let them move on without providing those required documents. So things like forms and pictures and
Mhm.
materials we would handle through gated workflows. Things like tasks, make sure you know, lock out, tag out, whatever it is. We can display that visually to the technicians through those green check marks.
Wonderful. Second question from Carly. Is there a way to export the audit trail or documentation to include in a closeout package?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways we could do this. Probably the most common and most readily available way of doing this is what we call a job report. So at the end of a job, there's this step where the service manager or someone in the office can review the job, the work that the technician has completed, and they can look at all of the documentation that technician has provided, all their hours, the materials, the pictures, the forms, the signatures, literally everything they did in the mobile app. They can review this during the review step, and then as an output of that review step, we can produce a PDF document called a job report, which will be configurable by you. You can determine how much detail actually goes into this document. So if there are things you need to disclose because of the negotiated contract that you have with the facility, then you can make sure those are in there. If there are other things that you don't want in there, like the number of hours, if you come across customers who like to argue about itemizing your labor, you just don't itemize the labor in that report. So you have control over how much detail goes into that report, but we can produce these reports at the end of a job that gives a very detailed, if you want, breakdown of the things that the technician found and how they fixed them, and what the steps were to do that.
Awesome. Chapel, I got you next. How customizable are the SOPs? Can we make different ones for different customers or job types?
Yeah, so not just the SOPs, but also the skills and certifications. There is a lot of flexibility in that. Some of the gated workflow stuff that we've talked about, that is currently set to only a few things. But in terms of like checklists, like what your team and technicians need to do, those can be built out, really to a degree that's, almost ad nauseum, like how complex it can get with how many documentation or pieces of documentation you have. And then again, with those skills and certifications, those are created, on the client side, on your side, to detail what's needed at what level. So yes, you can definitely customize it, not just for different customers, but different job types as well.
Awesome. I'm getting a lot of feedback from the crowd here that they really loved your responses. So I'm going to stick with you for a moment here and say, if I'm just getting started with data centers, what's the first thing you'd recommend doing in BuildOps?
Ooh, yeah,
Interesting
no,
question.
that's a good question.
Interesting.
Granted, my own experience with data centers is a little more limited, to be fair. But if there was anything that I would jump on, it would be the asset tracking that was mentioned. Go ahead. You can actually scan the plates on specific assets, and it'll import information automatically. That's the first thing I would do is start from a basis of good documentation where all the assets are being tracked, and all of your team members are also being tracked in terms of their skill levels. Once you've got those two big things, the asset tracking and the skills and certs set up, you'll be able to, if not run, at least walk as you get started with data centers.
Ooh, can I add a hot take?
Okay, I'm listening, Erica.
Nice.
Yeah, my hot take is like on the other side of like the people part of it, right? So like when we think about you're launching it in a net new line of work, right? Like, and you want your team to feel excited and you want them to want to learn more things, right? How do you get them hyped? How do you make them feel like here's the cutting edge of like what needs to happen next? And so like again, Chaba, going back to the thing you said at the top of the call, of, like create that small group of like subject matter experts, make sure they feel empowered and get them to like get everyone to want it because I've heard somebody say this is probably an SC, so John, someone on your team, but like everyone at the shop is effectively a seller, right? And so it's like if you get everyone believing in something, I think it's a good way to build the overall enthusiasm to stretch into a new area of work and a new property type to serve.
Hot take. Hot take. I want to respect everyone's time, so I'm also a little OCD, so I like ending at a thing. So 30 past feels good to me. So I'm gonna ask one more question. I'm gonna just kind of like dip into my helmet here, pull out. Okay, we're doing more and more TIs. Thank you, Jack, for this one. Is there a way to templatize these workflows for repeated scopes? This is open to anyone. Want me to
John, I
repeat
was
it?
going to let you take that one, to be honest.
I'm
It's-
actually, I had an audio blip there. Could you read it to me again, RC? My
Yeah,
apologies.
first of all, is Chapel looking over at John? Because you look literally looking like it was very Brady Bunch square right there.
I've got videos over
It
here.
actually freaked me out a little bit. All right. We're doing more and more TIs. Is there a way to templatize these workflows for repeated scopes?
So yes, to a degree. So my guess is that you're talking about quoted work. This is something that, when something goes wrong and you quote that work, it's something that we frequently quote. Say it's a compressor change out for a crack unit or whatever it is, a rooftop unit, etc. If a compressor change out is more than likely very similar every time you do it, and so what we can do here is we can create within our quoting tool sort of a template quote that has the standard things that we see in that compressor change out. And then we have a tool that allows us to clone quotes. So with a couple of button clicks, I can copy paste a quote, and then I can make whatever changes I need to the new version of that quote. So if I needed to update pricing or change out materials or modify the labor or whatever, I can still do that, but I didn't have to create that quote from scratch. And what that allows me to do is take something that might take me, 20 or 30 minutes and get it down to 5 or 10 minutes because I can leverage the work that I did previously to build that quote template. Once a quote is created and sent off to the customer and approved, it's very quick and easy to convert that into a job. A couple button clicks and it converts it into a job, and you can actually go ahead and do that compressor change out. So that would be my suggestion if you're looking for a way to sort of templatize this work, is to start it at the quote stage and create template quotes that you can clone over and over and over again and use the work that you put into creating those for future work.
Clever. All right, so I'm going to round out with a little bit of information here for you all. For number one, thank you all for joining. Number two, I'm going to be shooting out, it should be directly from my email, an email to you all. I think it's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be a recap of this webinar with a recording. As a part of that, I'm also going to reshare, I know I did at the top of the hour, reshare the link to the older former data center webinar that we did with Haynes as well, so you can get some context for that. In addition, our team put together a wonderful little resource for you all. It's kind of like a one-pager sell sheet thing of like top things you should be looking for, certification strategies to help you land the data center work as well. So that'll all be in an email. So look for that about midday tomorrow. Other than that, I really want to thank everyone here for their time. If you have any more interest in seeing BuildOps as a customized walkthrough, reach out to our team, buildops.com. And again, I'll shoot that out in an email as well for more information. But thank you so much for everyone. Enjoy. And Erica, I hope it stays rain-free for you in your world. And for the rest of us, pour it on, baby. Take care, everyone.
Bye.